Let's talk money, honey. What's shakin' bacon? I'm Joni Simon, food photographer. Welcome to my studio. This is a 7-part series all about pricing food photography and product photography. And this is one topic that can be so frustrating as a photographer, especially as a food photographer. We don't have a one-size-fits-all scenario for our work, where with things like headshots, senior portraits, weddings even, they follow a fairly similar format. But for food, I could go to a restaurant and photograph 15 dishes in an afternoon for social media content, or I could spend that same amount of time on one single shot for the front of a package. Every job is different, so we can't just put together a pricing sheet and say, here's my rates. It doesn't work that way. So let's very first start things off with first answering the question you might be asking of, how do I know it's time to start charging for my work? Well, there are 3 things that could happen to you that indicate that it's time to start charging. So number 1, someone has asked you, what's your rate? Or can we collaborate? Or what would you charge to do X? If someone's asking you this question, it's because they see value in the work that you do. And this is important. If you take nothing else away from this mini course, compensation for your work should always be aligned with the value that it holds for the client. Not how long it took to make, not how expensive it was to make, not how hard it was to make. We'll talk more about time, expenses, and skill later on in this series, but I want you from the very get-go to equate compensation with value. Because let's say I create an image of a cupcake for a client and it took me 2 hours to capture. And it was pretty easy for me to create, but they really need that image as a part of their big marketing campaign for the year. And there's a lot at stake for that campaign. And it means a lot to the owner of the company. And maybe the use of that image goes on to help them generate millions of dollars for their business. And so in that situation, and in all situations, I'm gonna charge based on the value of that image to the client, not the time and effort it necessarily took me to create. And so what someone will pay for something is an indication of how much they value it. But now going back to how to know if it's time to start charging. The second indication is that you know more than your client. Notice that I did not say you know everything and are the end-all be-all master of photography. Honestly, I don't know who can claim that, but you don't need to meet some sort of elusive threshold of skill before you start charging. There's no photo police out there that says you can't charge for that, and there's no certificate that deems you fit to charge. You just need enough skills that you can produce something that the client can't on their own or doesn't have time to on their own. Now, yes, as your skills progress and you know more and you have more experience, you can continue to charge more and more. But even if you're just getting started and your client has seen your work and knows what you can do and you can provide something of value to them, you deserve to be paid. And let's be honest, chances are you know more than you're giving yourself credit for. I was charging for photo shoots before I had a strong handle on lighting and while I was still shooting in auto mode. A prime example being some local food festivals and events. They didn't need masterpiece images. They just wanted to document the day and have something to provide to sponsors about the event in the future. Now, what I learned quickly shooting at those events and for early clients, that learning more skills did end up making doing my job so much easier, and I was able to produce better photos. But still, even just starting out, I knew more than my client and I was paid for the work. And so then number 3 indication that it's time to start charging is if you've already done some free projects for other businesses. Now, as I've shared before in other videos, it can be a good strategy when you're brand new to photography or brand new to business to do a few projects, 1 or 2, not 5 or 6 or 10, 1 or 2, for free, because this can help to build your portfolio, build your confidence. Maybe it's a restaurant shoot so you can get the feel for what it's like to shoot in a restaurant, or a brand sends you some product and you create a photo or a video and share that on your social media. And maybe you've done that 1 or 2 times and both times the client was happy with the work, you learned some things, but then after that, you've got legit experience, so it's time to charge. And along those same lines, if a brand or a business that maybe you included in your photos or your videos that you shared online has DM'd you and asked if they can repost your content to their account, whether you give them permission or not. Either way, that's a sign to start charging. They liked your work enough that they wanted to repost it, means they like it enough to pay for it. Got it? So now let me know in the comments below. Do you think you're ready to charge? Did you say yes to one of those 3 things? I'd love to hear about it. Now in the next video, let's talk about why it matters the kinds of clients you're working with and how that impacts pricing.